today we are going to be going over a Japanese game. Normally I just do Chinese and Korean games, so I hope you're all nicely surprised that I'm branching out and I'm going to be doing Japanese matches. And I plan on doing Japanese matches for, I don't know, a lecture 2 or 3? But there you go. We have Iyama Yuuta versus Kono Rin. 2 players that I definitely am not used to going over. So this is going to be very interesting. For those of you who are not aware of who these people are, as you can see, they are both 9-dans. Kono Rin is a 32-year-old 9-dan. Iyama Yuuta is a 24-year-old 9-dan. So we're not dealing with, old people as sometimes you might suspect from 9-dans. No, these are actually, fairly younger individuals. Yummy tea. Iyama Yuuta is considered right now, I think, the best player in Japan. He's, winning all of the things. And this game, the reason why I picked it, not because, Iyama Yuuta was playing, and I heard he's really good. I haven't been watching his games lately, but I heard he's been doing really, really well, and everyone's, recommending him. I actually picked this game because, in a lot of ways, his style of play reminded me of the old Lee Chang-ho. And we'll be getting into why that is in a moment. But alright. Now, even though I am picking players that I don't usually go over, I am not going so insane as to pick players whose opening is completely against everything that I would ever go over. So, fairly normal things happening here, as you would expect from anything I do. Only unusual bit is that we do have a diagonal Fuseki here, implying that perhaps we are going to see a more territorial game, because it's very, very unusual to get diagonal and actually see influence style play. That would be really, really difficult to do since, your opening stones are about as far away from each other as they could possibly get. Hard to really build up a framework when your stones aren't next to each other. Bit difficult to do. Alright. So white takes his 4 point, leaving black the option to go ahead and either enclose either of his corners or approach. He does approach. And for those of you who were paying attention to what I just said, why did he approach low? Every time I see diagonal on KGS from certain players, usually I always see a high approach. Why did he play low? FC instantly responds that he played low for territory. And how do we know he's playing for territory? Because we just heard that's what the diagonal is usually good for. We can also take a look and, use our eyes and see, hey, 3-4 stone, hey, 3-4 stone. This might be a territorial game, so we're going to approach low. Be very, very, very careful about approaching high in this situation. A lot of people do it. Very hard when you're opening all 3-4 points. Very hard when you're playing a diagonal. Here you have all 3-4 points and you've opened diagonal, so again, difficult to go high here. White backs off. Understandable. Black guy has his choices. He could say, that's really, really, whoops, there we go. This is really, really slow against my stone. I'm going to do something completely different instead. I'm going to just, I'm going to not respond locally and maybe take an enclosure here or maybe an extension. Because really you're not applying much pressure to me. You're usually aiming to do something else on top of the board. So I'm going to go over there and, ensure that you can't do that, forcing you to find something to do against my approaching stone. That's all completely fine. Black instead says I'm going to enclose. That's fine too. Gives white a chance to approach the top though. And again, we see a low approach as opposed to a high approach. I'm emphasizing this constantly because a number of games that I've gone in and out of recently this week kind of get a feel of, what people are doing on KGS. Seeing a lot of just random high approaches when they clearly don't make a lot of sense. So again, we know this is a territorial game, so we are in fact approaching low. Don't let black get the enclosure. That's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing too. If we played something like a lot slower, one, we can pretty much hand in our professional certificate. We're not going to be needing it anymore. And it would allow black to get another really, really nice enclosure when we really haven't gotten anything for ourselves here. We're not stopping our opponent from developing. We're not really developing very quickly for ourselves. Not giving ourselves potential for further development later on down the road, things like that. This would be really, really slow to do. Even something like this would be very slow. But alright. Got that there approach. Time for black to make serious decisions. We could approach. Okay. We could back off. Possible. We could be like, you know, I heard in one of Badasai's lectures that getting an extension from an enclosure is really, really great, so I'm going to do that now. Also completely possible. Bit slow, though. A bit slow. Instead, black is going to look at this area and realize, you know what? If white's going to get anything, it's probably going to be up here. We know that because that's where most of his stones are located. So he's going to pincer. But who can tell me how we should go about considering our pincer in this situation? Do we just like slap anything down and just, you know, go all YOLO strategy and hope everything lives? How do we figure where we're going to pincer? What should be going through our minds? Heya777 says we should think about the bracket backslash. It's a good strategy, often overlooked. Steve M, I like your response over Robert T. Sorry, Robert T. That says, what gives you somewhere to extend to? And that's a good idea. That's a good idea. And we see black follow that immediately. Because we can see from him that he can extend a little bit, at least one space there if he has to. But he can also extend 2 space to the left, or even further if he so wishes. So he has potential there. If we, for example, decide, let's say, we're going to go too far away, well, then this can be kind of bunched up and we're not really certain how we're going to live here now, right? I mean, we can't really get much of an extension there if we find white responding in that manner. If we respond too close, well, now there's not even an option to extend for 1 space, let alone 2. And to be further careful, because any attack, or any influence rather, that white gets over here might translate into an attack and extension for white, and that can be a little bit uncomfortable. So here he's playing as far away as he can while still applying pressure on the white's approaching stone. And he's giving him flexibility in order to try and, you know, not get crunched up in the whole being dead thing. White plays a Joseki that I try to teach every last one of my students. It's a nice, quite simple Joseki. When you actually do the extension, the ones, let's click on the tool so you can see. Because you can't, those of you who are watching on KGS, can't actually see my mouse. The one extension with the jump here. It leaves Aji behind, as we're clearly going to see here. But it's not something that we actually have to respond to immediately. Because if we were to play somewhere else, I'm going to play over here just so I don't ruin the tree, and white immediately cuts through, all white's really saying to himself is, I want your stones. But black keeps getting Aji, or not Aji, Sente, right? So we got Sente for whatever he played elsewhere, and now we have Sente again to go again and play something else. So that's pretty good, that's pretty good. Usually, even though we can kill that now as white, it's not really worth it to do so right now. So we're not usually going to see it. Also, it's not really worth it to... Can I click that? Okay, yeah, I can. it's not really worth it to go ahead and try and, push through and kill all the things and be super hyper aggressive here. Because if we actually try and do this, we have to remember that this is not as easy as it looks. This is getting very, very complicated. If we decide to say, I'm going to kill all the things and kill all the things and keep killing all the things, well, that could be a problem in and of itself. I think Black's going to be most unhappy now that he's just lost the game. So can't be too greedy there. And if you go for a different variation, at most, all you're really doing is trying to kill off the 3 cutting stones in the middle in Gote, either via ladder, or maybe just letting them run out a little bit more for extra influence. And again, that's not too bad. That's not too bad either. Because we're still going to be getting Sentei and whatnot, and we're fine in the corner. So alright, played that. Black gets the extend. White decides to cut through regardless of everything I just said. Needless to say, this is not a mistake from Black. Black isn't scrambling here. He did not realize, it's not like he didn't know he could be cut. He just figured it was small for White to do so now, and White just happens to disagree. So okay. Bye-bye stones. White now has pretty solid corner in the upper right. That's fine. But as I mentioned, Black now gets Sentei, and Black uses Sentei where? Where is Black going to use Sentei? Is he going to extend from over here? Okay, once again, you can't see my mouse. Over here, over here. Is he going to save this top stone, take an extension? What do you think Black ought to be doing now with his Sentei? Because nothing's in trouble. We have Sentei to do whatever we want in this game. So what should it be? What should it be? I like R. That is such a weird move, Nizumi. You want to hit the 3-3? Oh, R6. Okay. That's what I was looking for. Nizumi's answer is what I was looking for. Because I figured that some people would want to extend here over the bottom. However, we can clearly see... can we really clearly see that? We can clearly see that. We're gonna need special tools to really see this, though. But we can really see quickly here that this is most definitely the larger side of the board than the right-hand side. So typically when someone chooses to approach R6 as opposed to O3 in the situation, they're usually thinking about doing it because they're a little bit worried about this shape. They're afraid of being attacked there and they want to, give it a little extra. But that shape is actually pretty strong. We don't really have to worry about this being in any danger whatsoever. So approaching from the larger side makes perfect sense. Yeah, worried about wasting the thickness. Same thing with the lower left-hand corner, though. We don't want to waste the thickness from our enclosure. That leaves it a lot of power on the board. And if we don't do something with it, then that will go to waste as well. But yeah, I can totally see how you thought that. We see it a lot. No problem. So okay, Black's developing the bottom of the board. White backs off. And then Black decides to play a little bit aggressively here. Applying a little bit of pressure onto this little enclosure. Interesting decision. Interesting decision. I guess he too is beginning to want to be in the driver's seat and start picking a little bit of a fight here. Because a 3-3 could be a problem if White feels like he's in trouble and goes into maybe a defensive posture such as Q2 or even the kick at P3, then Black will be very, very happy. He's being made nice and strong for areas that he wants to develop and be safe in. White, on the other hand, does not believe he's in trouble. And he decides to pincer. Now we have an interesting decision again for black on our hands, because how do you follow this up? Do you follow up your original idea and play another move against these two stones? If you do, c15 may be killed off and that could be a problem. Black says no, you are not going to play another stone against my approach. White says that's completely fine. I do not mind if you make yourself as small as humanly possible. Black moves to live, black moves to live, and white moves to keep this as hard to live as possible. Black does not connect though, decides to come out. That's an interesting decision. It allows white to keep the corner, also probes the cutting point, which we're probably not going to respond to, right? If we did anything else right now, then this might actually be a pretty difficult situation for black. I mean, who wants to live and try to live in this situation? That's not going to be fun. So, definitely can't do that. Instead we see black push. White cuts off. Black gets rid of his two stones. Congratulations to white there. Continues sacrificing. Forcing move, because we know that white's not going to play elsewhere now and let us just draw out the two stones that, you know, he just painstakingly killed. So there we go. And from that influence, black develops. Okay. Not bad. So, he got rid of his two stones. Got to continue developing on the left side of the board. That's pretty reasonable. He's already in a position to say that white is not going to get very much on the top of the board. And we know that because of these two stones. It's going to be very difficult for white to develop that area. He can attack the two stones, potentially anyway. But even that's going to be hard because there's like still so much room to make bases and jump out. And we can start making really weird shapes here. Yeah, I was thinking it looked like a dog. Anyway. So he has the doggy shape, in which allows him to further stabilize himself, which is very nice. But it's now white's turn. So what do you do? Do we immediately try and attack the top? These two stones? Do we defend our corner? Do we try and use the Aji of C12? Do we play on the bottom, as Steve M wants to do? Now, that is an interesting comment from Heya777. He says pincer high. And why do you want to pincer high? What is interesting about the pincering of the high stones? Black is trying to build a moyo. There we go. They can't be pressed down for influence. One thing always to remember, that if you do play a low stone, like if we played, let's just go ahead and show it here. Yeah, white does pincer high, but let's say he didn't. Let's say he pincered low. Let's say he pincered low. Well, trouble with that is there is an option, for example, where you might find yourself then kept low. And then white might be giving more and more influence to black, which is being used rather effectively with the current stones he has on the board. He's completely set up to use all this. He'd be rather happy getting more influence for the left side of the board. That'd be completely fine for him. If we do something like approach pincer high, well, even if we pincered closer, let's say, it's kind of unlikely that we're suddenly gonna, okay, that's just weird. It's unlikely that we're gonna see any attempt to keep this low now. Because one, even if we can't cut through that, are you really trying to make a wall on the 6th line of the board? That's kind of strange. A lot more strange compared to the 4th one that we might have been able to make. 4th one would have been reasonable. 6th is just bizarre. Not very efficient for making walls and stuff. That said, black still wants to use his influence for something. So he's going to pressure this stone, make sure it can't settle very easily. See what white wants to do there. And now immediately, some of us would go into press black at the bottom corner. Oh, white's turn. Yeah, press black. How would you press black at the bottom? Oh, okay, with the shoulder hit. Okay. Interesting idea. Yeah, and lean on the stone. I see. If we play a move like what has been suggested in the chat, the N4 stone, this says, you know what, you're probably going to live. I just want you to work against this group long enough where I'm fine in the middle and you're not going to be able to attack me anymore. It's pretty much all I want you to do. Just make me okay. Because usually when we lean against a stone like this, we're not saying, haha, you're dead. No, because they're going to respond and we're going to respond. As they get stronger and we get stronger, we have no option to really counterattack. Suffice to say, white casually just takes his corner. No concern. No concern that his stone is obviously in black sights. It's like, alright, he wants me to save my stone. He wants to attack that stone. But I don't want him to go into my corner, so I'm going to seal that off. Also, by strengthening our corner, black can't do really cool things, like attach here, maybe for further settling purposes. Definitely can't go into the 3/3 later on. Though I think this is probably something we'd see a little bit more of. So yeah, that stone's going to be a little bit stronger. And by that stone, I mean this corner is going to be a little bit stronger now, which only serves to hurt 0-3. No invade left and make 2 weaker. Okay, that would have been an interesting idea too, yeah. That would be a really good thing to point out, Robert. I do love counting to 2 in these kind of games. And this is an area where you would not want to count to 2, because if you decide that we're just going to invade everywhere and hope we live, you deserve to lose. I hope you lose every single game for the rest of your life if you actively play this way. Unless you decide to start changing your play style. Because this so should not work, and yet people do it constantly. They just assume something's going to live, and I hope it's going to be enough. But we don't do that. None of us do that. Nobody here does this. Nobody. I know none of you guys do that because you're all cool. Our opponents, though, they do it and we hate them. But it shouldn't work, Ross. That's like, my opponent keeps looking around the room while we play. If I move this stone, then it's an auto win if he doesn't notice. I mean, it's not quite at that level, but it's friggin' close. Anyway, Continuing on. Black responds by strengthening himself, putting more pressure against the stone. Now it's starting to feel the squeeze. But White says something really, really cool here. He's like, you know what? I'm not interested in fighting on your terms. How about if you start fighting on my terms? Is there anything over here? Is there Aji? Can I use this Aji for myself? And Black says, yes, there is Aji. There is Aji that allows me to kill off your stone. Okay. How do we know this kills off the stone? Because one thing that White's not going to do is just diagonal away and get into this really crazy running group that runs the entire board and then resigns. We're not going to play that way. That'd be really, really bad. Because Black can connect under still, right? So if White runs out across everywhere and Black runs out across everywhere, we can see that Black is getting the bottom of the board and White would get nothing. At that point, yeah, that's an embarrassing loss. But alright. White says that's fine. I'm gonna play a small knight. Huh. What an interesting move that is. What do we know about small knights, people? What do we know about small knights? FC says we know small knights can be cut. And Robert T says we know small knights are played by Iyama Yuuta. Okay. Just for fun, again, cuttable. Small knights can be cut. So Black says, dude, small knights can be cut. And White says, yeah, you're right. They can be cut. Absolutely. True. But the thing about having to cut a small knight is you typically need a ladder. And you chose to try to kill my stones. So pick. Do I get out, or do I get to kill your stone? Well, Black doesn't want the two stones to escape, so, you know, we're gonna have to give up this one, I guess. Can't run that out anymore. And by getting that capture, oh, that is so insane, because these stones are now in so much trouble. I mean, they're now stuck between a really, really strong corner and this happy little capture shape, which we know is very, very strong and will definitely kill us if it gets the chance. So we have to be careful about that. The bright side to this, the shining light of all of this, is that by extending, Black gets to say, okay, I am in a little bit of trouble here. Granted, my stone's not the healthiest. There's a lot of room, though. I think I can do something there. However, the left-hand side of the board, I'm threatening 7th line territory, and that's huge. So what are you going to do? Are you going to go all in and try and kill off my 2 stones? Because you better do it in Sente. Otherwise, I'm taking everything on the left for myself. And you're probably going to die. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, Iyama Yuuta loves them probing moves. So he plays a probe. Not thinking he's going to live with that stone. He's simply saying, how are you going to respond so I know how much Aji I have in the corner? Black responds this way, allowing White to cut. If he responded, let's say, this way, then maybe there's the Hane here. If he responded this way, well, that's just kind of weird, because now that C5 stone wasn't helped, so there's a whole bunch of different Aji here. I mean, there's still the Hanes, there's even the clamps at that point, if you think that can do something. There we go. Alright, 62 moves in. Have not killed the tree yet. We're doing good. We're doing good. So, white cuts, because he's just making some magic happen. It's all he's looking for. It's like, I just want to see what my Aji is. What's the deal with this corner? Can I do anything? Black Atari outside, because that's where all the things are happening. Robert T has so much faith in me. Tree dies in 5 moves. And you know what? Because Robert said that, I just went back and verified the next 5 moves to make sure that didn't happen, just so he's wrong. Alright, so black connects. White gets to Atari again. Alright, so not a lot going on there. We can't connect on either cut point, because if we do, then the other one's just going to be taken, so we still can't quite live back here yet. Alright, alright. So white drops down, putting more pressure on those 2 stones. And a little bit more Aji on the corner that we'll be going over in a minute. But this is definitely a what are you going to do kind of move. This is definitely a what are you going to do kind of moment. Because we could say, I'm going to respond here and lock you out of that corner. But you might give up your stones by doing so. And then it's a question of, well, is that really enough to win? If I give my opponent all of that, and he keeps building up the left, am I still going to have enough? Is he having too much? I mean, what's going on there? Black says, no joy. We out of here. Might be able to attack white stones, so that's good too. But that gives white a free move since you did not respond. Now things are getting a little bit dicey. Because black drops down and says you can't connect. But white gets to strengthen himself and says, I'm going to cut you. Now we're running into issues. Because what do? It looks like something of ours is going to die. Black says, okay, I guess I'll connect here then. But then white says, alright, if that's the way you want it, I'm going to play here and cut off your 3 stones. Black plays the Atari. Forcing move. And then goes into a Ko. That right there is pretty huge. That right there is very, very, very large. And also subsequently means that this game is not one that I would ever win. Well remembered there, 2% milk. There's a lot of great forcing moves on the board for this particular Ko. It's one of the reasons why I would lose the game. I would have no threats, and I'd be like, well, this was a fun 80-move game. Time to move on to the next one. But alright. White play Atari. Black connect. White takes. Black says, I cut through you. White says, that seems fair. Now we have to make this exchange as valuable as possible. So black continues cutting through, because that's what white gave up. White comes out. He's not going to just, live in the middle, or live in the corner. Whoa, I almost clicked the wrong move. Black is off the stone. White pushes. And even gets to come out a little bit, which is nice. Black's not connecting up completely, which we like. And before we see this next exchange, I want to go back and highlight something. I want to actually go back and look at this. I like how simple this is. I mean, this is something that isn't beyond the grasp of anyone watching, I don't think. It's like, well, what do you want to do here? Well, I would like to save my stone. But if I attach, I'm going to strengthen him. If I jump out, he might do this. I would like to come out really, really fast. That way we reduce him as well, but that leaves a ladder. So we can easily read out the ladder and see where we need to play. I mean, that in itself is extremely simple and not beyond anybody in this chat. And I really like players who have that kind of simple approach to a lot of their games, where we can all obviously follow along and be like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. And here we're going to see something similar again, which is why I highlighted this. Because here we see that black has a goal. Black does not want to get this group killed, because it's kind of separated again, which is why white was fine with making the exchange in his co. And again, we see simple ideas like, alright, how do I attack a group? I make sure that it can't connect anywhere. Okay, how do we do that? With forcing moves. And here we still have some forcing moves. It's like, rather than just keep jumping out, and jumping out, and jumping out. Where's the next jump? There we go. And jumping out, and jumping out, and jumping out. All the way across the board. And nothing interesting ever happening from any of that ever again. Then we see white going back and using those forcing moves to try to cut off black from, connecting anywhere. So alright, white plays the Atari, creating conflict in the center of the board, and keeps using that Aji. Black keeps trying to kill everything off. White connects. Black keeps trying to go after all the things. Very, very embarrassing move. Because you're in serious trouble now. Your 3 stones are almost alive, and black's 4 stones are almost dead. Okay, for 5 stones, for those of us who can do basic math. White says these 3 stones are up for grabs. Black says no, I'm going to kill them. Which allows white to go back and cut off. This is suddenly getting rather dangerous. But is it very dangerous for black? Is it really dangerous for black? Are we going to lose these stones here? What do you think? What do you think? Are we doomed? Ah, but I'm wondering if you can. Okay. Liath says Q8. I like that. Can cut and threaten the 2 stones. But that disconnects, which is all we were interested in. And then black has to go back and kill off the 3. So we wanted to keep separated, and white got what he was after. I mean, that is a really, really interesting wall that's about as close to black stones as you can possibly get. So white does a thing that some queues do, but for every move and they ever play. So this one's important. Make sure we're not going to get disconnected. Have to play it. Same thing here. Make certain that those cut points and whatnot don't come back and haunt us. Black's now in trouble because white is incredibly strong in the middle, where he wasn't a moment ago. Black tries to lean on the group, because if white responds, then he can jump out of here without that stupid group that's trying to surround us on the right-hand side continuing to do its job. But now that he's out, white just keeps counting to 2. It's like, well, I had... Here's what I was seeing. I was seeing that you were jumping out with this group, and there's a lot of Aji here. So I just used that. And now since you just forced my other group to jump out, I'm seeing that there's these 3 stones here that are kind of all by themselves. So I'm going to put pressure on those too. And this is kind of what I mean when I say that it kind of reminded me of Yi Cheng-ho's old style. Because we had a lot of games where we had exchanges like this from Yi Cheng-ho, where, you know, his opponent just kept getting everything that he wanted. Like, those 3 stones died, these other 3 stones died. But it was still a very difficult game for the person who was seemingly getting everything that he wanted. So it kind of reminded me of that in a way. Black says, forget my 3 stones, I'm going to counterattack you. Which is fair enough point. I mean, we don't have a base here anymore. Our base is kind of, you know, not looking so cool. Luckily enough, we have more Aji than anyone's ever seen before. So we're just going to keep using all that Aji to come on out. Black says, I have seen this one before. All the things are being surrounded, so I'm going to respond. Which white obviously responds to because he's in turn getting to surround again. He's completely happy. He could not be happier with what's going on right now. But again, we have to save our middle group. So those 3 stones down there of blacks never had a chance. Poor little guys. Don't you feel bad for them? White turns, forces black to continue defending himself. Grabs a bit of a base and ensures that black is never going to get one here. Because, you know, before we had some pretty powerful forcing moves, right? We had things like, well, this is clearly an I at the very least. Yeah, white doesn't really have to try and take the 3 stones. Black's gonna kill them off all by himself. So black responds, white plays the Atari. Black tries to get rid of. But since black's trying to get rid of, and since we just disrupted a base down here, white's like, hang on a minute. I don't think you realize what's going on here. You're still under attack. And I still have ways to keep you from connecting to anything. So if you really want to express an interest in these 3 stones, you're more than welcome to do so. If you need me, I'll be in the middle killing your group. So okay, black has to respond. I mean, white's moves are pretty powerful. Black says there's not a single chance in anything that I can respond to these because my middle group is under attack, which allows white to profit insanely on the top side of the board. But at the same time, you know, black's not dying, so that's annoying, but expected, because when a group knows that it's in trouble, it's really, really, really hard to actually kill the group. I say it constantly, and it's true. But we are profiting. White is profiting on this board. He's enlarged his corner. He's killed off some stones. He might be able to kill off some more stones. Picked up the upper left-hand corner in exchange, you know, pretty early on in the game. So his attacks are yielding profit, which is how he can essentially keep affording to keep attacking without worrying about, you know, having to kill something without... and having to kill something with, you know, actually being able to stay in the game. It's not like an all-or-nothing kind of deal. It's alright, those stones are finally killed. Pretty reasonable for white. Black says, please respond to me. I'm gonna reduce your corner. White says, yeah, about my corner, tell you what. I'm gonna attack something else now because that's just what I do. So you can have my corner. I'm gonna try and kill the stones that are surrounding my corner. See what Aji's there instead. Black says, well, that's a good point. I definitely don't want you to do that. I'm gonna have to respond to you. No! Frack you, you stupid mouse. White absolutely does not poke at the cut point. Oh well. 150. Hey, 150 is pretty good, okay? I could cop out and just take games where nothing goes beyond move 100, and I could just do that series for like a year. But no. We are not copping out and doing that. But alright. We had one tree. One tree did buy it. But it's okay. It's fine. I do not remember what you're talking about, Yannick, nor will I ever. Okay. Okay, so let's see, we got the Happy Atari. And the Atari, and the Atari, and the Atari. Which forces black to be like, I'm being surrounded, it's time to leave. And white gets to say, then I get to reduce you. Now, admittedly, this does put a little bit of pressure on white, because now he's in trouble. I mean, he doesn't have two eyes in the corner. That's a problem. So we've got to defend ourselves, and by defend ourselves, I mean threaten to kill all the things. Which we can see is now being done here on an insane scale. It's like, you can kill me. That corner can be yours. But the middle is in trouble right now. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna kill it? Are you gonna kill it? Black retakes, because, you know, if he gets to kill off the stones involved in the ko, then he's alive and that's fine. So white connects, like, no more ko. This is I don't know, I don't even know how many points this ko is worth anymore. My counting's not that good. Let's just say the ko would be worth all of this. Essentially everything. Everywhere. Which is slightly too large. You're not going to really find a stone worth that much of the board. So, no. We ain't fighting that. which forces black to go back and try to live. And white pokes, and black keeps trying to live. And this is where we test your bloodlust. Can we kill that? Do we have to respond? Can we throw in? Test your might. Can we not kill it? Liat says no. It lives. Because if we throw in, black is going to push. And if we block, we get cut and that's a snapback. So we have to run and run and run and get connected. So white takes. Black pushes through. White blocks. Atari and connect. So that's an interesting choice right there. That, for me, is a very fascinating choice. Because now we're really, really close to not even being able to make the two eyes that we wanted anymore. So we must know exactly what we're doing here. And we're confident that black knows exactly what he's doing, because he turns. So obviously he's alive, in more ways than we know. Otherwise, that's insane. So alright, how is he alive? Well, what's white gonna do? If white plays the Atari, well, that's a thing, but can you really block? Can you really keep this from coming out? It's not looking all that great. It looks like you just be getting your group completely surrounded, and last I checked, this group wasn't completely alive either. Yeah, as FC just mentioned. So we have to be very careful here. So white keeps himself connected. Black gets to threaten the Atari. But since we're in trouble, we've got to defend ourselves. And since we defend ourselves, black gets to live. Okay, that seems to be a very, very important issue there. Because now we have to wonder, are we going to live in the corner? Or was this like the worst exchange in the history of ever? How do we live with this? This is a lovely little Go problem as well. How the frack does that live? F15. So says Peacock. Very nice. First thing we have to do is make certain that our stones aren't killed. Because if these stones aren't killed, these stones have a problem. And if those stones have a problem, then black has no time to come back and kill us. So despite this being Sente, and despite this being Sente, right, only thing white can do now, or black can do now rather, is go back and Atari to connect. Doesn't connect, those stones are dead. And since he is connecting, guess which stones don't get to connect? The tree. The tree gets to be cut down again, because there's a connection here first, and then thank you very much. Alright, so that gets to live because the larger of the stones were going to die if white kept trying to kill us. So, awesome. That worked out well. Now, since that's all nice and fine, Black goes back here. But white is a little bit aggressive. He plays the Atari. He extends. Black gets the kill. But this is essentially just... these are all moves that white's gonna have to... or black's gonna have to now kill off more or less. Really, really great endgame. These are probably gonna have to die now. And these two stones might never be saved, because if we Atari, right, and black makes a mistake of connecting, then that's bad. So it's pretty good. Gonna have to take off these stones, gonna have to take these stones off the board, and probably gets a couple more stones as a result. So it's really good endgame. Really good endgame. White extends, black stops. Atari. Black connects. White connects, and now essentially we're in endgame. And now, since our time is already up, and this absolutely does continue on for a lot more moves, a good 70 of them, in fact. Do I want to keep going, or shall I just paste you the link? I guess I can keep going. I can do 70 moves pretty quick. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on them. Just going to play most of the rest of this out, so you can see what happens. It is 2.5, that is very true. And it is in part largely because of moves such as this, these great endgame that was found by white, that it is such a close game. Connects on up. You don't get to connect those stones up ever. Black gets to connect up his stones, which is pretty nice. And gets in some forcing moves and some forcing moves. And some you have to kill these moves and probably time Suji moves. Yeah, black did pretty well. Black definitely did pretty well. Ooh, double Atari, that hurts. Luckily, we have co-threats all over the places. Another situation that I would probably lose. Take back. That would hurt a lot. Can't let that happen. Gets to take, forcing... Actually, what does he do? Does he take? He does take, right? Yeah, he does take. There we go with that. Goes there. Pretty large move. White cuts, on the other hand. And again, we're almost at the end of the game. Just a few more points left to take for both sides. I missed something. Nope, the connection. Ah, there we go. Then we extend, and then we prevent that from happening. That's a fairly large move to get in, so we're going to definitely respond to that. It's going to be Sente, so that's all good. White gets to play on the top. Black keeps as many points as he can, so White threatens to take up his stone again. Giving Sente back to Black as he takes a couple of points for himself. Just quibbling over 1 point here and there. Nothing too terribly large anymore. Don't want that Koa to get another point in. And that's the last move of the game. As pointed out, White did win by 2.5. Definitely a very interesting game. Had a lot of... I liked the fighting that went on in the center. I definitely enjoyed that. Very nice examples of, okay, this thing is trying to go this way. I'm going to get there first and make certain that it can't do anything. Really, really great lessons that we can essentially always work on and learn from in our own games. I will also point out that if you want to donate to lectures, you are more than welcome to do so at the link provided. We are down to what? Was this our last lecture? I think this was our last lecture. I'll probably be doing one week after next. I have more links for people if YouTube is actually working again. Video Manager was down for a lot of people earlier today. Frack, you're still down, aren't you? No, okay, you're good. You're good. Are we fine? You're not going to give me the 500 error, are you? Sweet. Alright, so those of you who don't know, I'm also redoing my World Baduk series. I uploaded the first video of that. You can find that there. Reason why I'm redoing some of those videos is because I think I uploaded them originally at only something like 360p or something, and it's blurry and disgusting. I didn't like it. So, re-recording, re-uploading, awesome. Different games though, not the same ones that were up there before. And then eventually we'll get into 6 Dawn and maybe 7 Dawn games? I don't know. Gonna try. Who knows? Let's see. Anything else? As always, I will point out that you can follow me on my Twitter to point out when I stream or other videos that I upload. I always make announcements of those that go on there. I don't really have a favorite opening right now. That's actually one of the toughest things for me to decide when I'm recording games. So I've got a couple of them that I need to upload still. Is, what the heck do I want to open with? Because right now, a lot of it's Chinese, a lot of it's... I just can't say what my favorite one is right now. Definitely not Tengen. But I think that's it for announcements. I hope to see you guys week after next. Assuming lectures continue to get funded, that is. If they do, I will keep giving them, and I will keep putting out how to study and playing on Taigem and World Baduk. Ooh, bright side, Kendall Inazuma, you know her as, has expressed an interest to finally continue our KGS series, so I'm hoping that we can get in on that as well. Gonna try to do that this weekend, potentially. No, Batasai is not 90. I think that's about it. Were there any questions? Favorite opening? Wish I could. I don't think I saw anything. Will we see you playing Sanrensei? Okay. I didn't want to say this, but I'm thinking about creating just a streaming account. Just a streaming account on either Taigem or World Baduk or somewhere. And I was thinking, because I'm stupid, about streaming for 1 hour a night. And for each week, I was going to have, like, themes. Like, this week, I open every game with Chinese. This week, I open every game with, you know, whatever. So, maybe there might be Tengen. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing it. I just haven't decided what server I want to do